Hey, welcome back to the videos. We're continuing in the more advanced bending ideas in bluegrass style, and we're borrowing ideas from pedal steel guitar and applying them to the banjo neck. The first idea was based on any D-shaped chord, or what I refer to as the number 2 shape, and we were bending the third string note in the chord formation up a whole step to give us a major 6 steel guitar effect. And again, because it's based on the shape, it's movable, and you can do that effect out of all 12 major chords using that number 2 shape. Let's move to the number 1 shape, also called the F shape, and I'm going to use D for the example. And as a general rule, these pedal guitar bend effects that we're doing work better as you go up the neck. The fret spacing is closer together, which means you don't have to stretch your fingers as far, and the strings feel like they're under less tension. The closer you get to the nut of the banjo in the lower positions, the more physically demanding it is for you to actually push the string, because the string is closer to the notch in the nut, and it takes a little more effort to move it. So I'm going to start up here in the middle of the neck at the 12th and 10th frets. What we're going to do to accommodate this movement, or this pedal steel effect, we're going to have to move the arrangement of the notes around slightly. So I'm going to take this F shape and I'm going to modify it, leaving the 4th string open, because I'm not going to play the 4th string, so I don't have to hold it. So if you look at this new arrangement of notes I'm holding, I have the 1st string with the pinky at 12. Now my middle finger is on the 2nd string at 10, and my index finger is back here at 9 on the 3rd string. So we started off with the standard number 1, or the F shape, and we've modified it to look like this. And I'm trying to move my ring finger out of the way so you can see it. But we're not noting the 4th string, so we don't need to hold it. And what this bend is going to entail is you bending this 3rd string again, just like you did in the previous example. I want you to stretch that string up a whole step. So this happens to be an E note. And what we want to do is raise it back to the pitch of the original F sharp note. Because in the original chord formation for D, since we're using D for the example, the note arrangements that you're holding here, here's your major triad, the D note is on the 1st string, 2nd string is an A, and this is an F sharp note, and you have another D note over here. So you have 4 notes, but only 3 of them are needed to make a D major chord: D, F sharp, and A. So what we're going to do in this pedal effect is we're actually going to drop back and suspend, if I can spit it out, we're going to suspend the chord shape. So this is actually a suspended chord formation. And we're replacing an F sharp note with an E note. And again, you can hold your fingers like this, and you could lift this ring finger up and you could get the same tone, but the way of expressing that note is going to be totally different when you bend it. So we're going to do the same motion that we did with this previous example, but now we're going to get a greater effect, or a fuller sound, because of just the arrangement of the notes and the location on the fingerboard. Now again, this is a whole step pedal bend. I'm actually going from a note that's lower in the scale for D and raising the value. So I want to be able to stretch that string enough to give me that pedal guitar effect, which is a whole step. Now another cool thing about doing these pedal bends is you can also play some minor chords. So if you think about how you would normally change any F-shaped chord into a minor version of itself, what you do is find the 3rd note of the triad, which in this case is F sharp, and you drop it a half step. That's what we call the flatted 3rd rule. So take the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes of any chord, which is the scale. So this is the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes of a D scale. Find those notes and you have a major chord. Now by flatting the 3rd, or dropping the value of that 3rd interval 1/2 step, you can convert any major chord into a minor. So D major, D minor. Okay, that's pretty cool to know, because if you decided you wanted to do a minor bend, which is pretty common, you may want to choke that E note only a half step higher to an F note. So instead of having a whole step bend and getting a major chord sound, you may want to do a minor bend, which would make that bend give you the effect of a D minor chord. So there's two ways to look at this type of bend: as a major bend from a suspended position, and as a minor bend. The major bend is a lot more common, especially in bluegrass circles. So when you hear banjo players doing this particular bend idea, they're usually doing a whole step bend to give their banjo a major chord sound. Now, like we used the previous example as being movable, any pedal steel effect that's based on a chord shape is movable. That's the cool thing about stroke style banjo. Everything that's chord based is movable. So I can actually take this same chord formation, the F shape, or what I call the number one shape, modify it so that I can get my fingers in position to do the bend, and I can move that anywhere on the neck as long as I know the location of the chord I'm hunting for. So if I want to go to a F position, here's one at 13 and 15, and I can do the same pedal steel effect, a whole step. Now if the fifth string kind of rings a little bit, you can mute that with the palm of your hand, the fleshy part of your thumb. I can do a G pedal bend, F, D, C, E. But again, as you move down the neck, down being this way, the bends are going to get harder to do because the frets are farther apart, and it's physically harder to make the third string move because the tension increases as you get closer to the nut. So most of the really effective and easier to play pedal effects that we're doing in this formation are usually done up the neck, just generally. But I mean, you can try to play them anywhere you want, but you're going to find that the stretches are harder to do, and it's physically harder, to actually accommodate that. Now, like I said previously, you can convert this to a minor by just pushing that string up only a half step higher. So in the case of a D, it would be from the 9th fret to the 10th fret as far as the amount you're stretching that tone. And a whole step gives you a major chord sound. Now, since we're talking about the number one shape here, or the F shape, let me show you another commonly heard bend effect. And this goes a little more outside the confines of steel guitar and more into, say, rock and roll guitar. But this is what I call a double stop bend. On the fiddle, double stop refers to playing two notes that are the exact same note on two different strings and playing them together as a unison. I can actually modify any number one shape. Let me use the D again for the example. Take the ring finger and put it on the third string to replace the middle finger note. And now I'm going to bend that string up so it sounds the same as the second string where it's being fretted. So what happens is you're actually physically stretching the third string to sound like the same note on the second string. And again, it requires a little force, but that's a really cool kind of pedal bend sounding effect, but it's really more common in rock guitar than it would be steel. But those are two ideas to add to your pedal effects catalog. And next video we'll look at a couple of more examples. I appreciate it. Have fun with these ideas, and we'll see you next video.